Hello, Year 7 classes. This is your warm-up / test practice / a challenge. I got these questions by looking at the test and changing the numbers a little, so this is going to be a very important warm-up. I'm going to give you some time to try to do this on your own. So for the next, I'm going to give you, there are 7 questions. I'm going to give you a little less than 10 minutes. Yes, this video will just be playing for about 10 minutes to write these problems down and try them on your own. Just to make sure it's really clear, on number 3, this part right here is 2 4/9. So good luck doing that. I believe in you. Remember that there is the challenge. Let me just remind you that there is the challenge about the behavior. See the board on the left of the screen, also over on the left side of the room for a better description of what that challenge is and what is expected of you. I know that you can be amazing students, and please know that if you are not amazing, I have given directions to the substitute to tell me specifically which students needed some reminders about how they can be the amazing and kind and hardworking students that you have been before. And go if you haven't already started. Okay, on second thought, if the substitute could please pause the video until it looks like students have written it. Most of the students have written it. Please remember to be quiet. I know you can. So pause the video now and come back when more students are done. Don't take too long though. So we are going to go through each of these questions because they are what's on the test, and it's going to make a very nice difference. So the first one is asking what is the cost per kilogram, and then it gives us these 3 things. This question came almost exactly from a homework question, which is very much related to the test question. Especially on the C and A level questions, those questions definitely do not come from the et and toi level questions. So this question comes from, I believe it's from a trea, and another one comes from a fira. So if you want practice for those problems so that you can get an A, a C, or an A, then it's a really good idea to do the C and the A questions coming from trea. So we wanted the cost per kilogram. So what is the cost per kilogram? So the grapes cost a half of a cost 11.5 kroner for only a half. So our goal with all of these is I'm going to put it over here, we want to get the kroner per kilogram. So that means that the kroner is going to be on the top instead of the bottom. So let's just start by switching that around. So this would be 11.5 kroner for 0.5 kilograms. But we want just one kilogram on the bottom per 1 kroner. So if we times this by 2 and then this one by 2, we'd get the answer. So 11.5 times by 2 is 23. So it'd be 23 kroner per kilogram. The next one is pears. 300, so we're going to switch it around first. So we're going to do 3 kroner for 200 grams. But now I want to change the grams to kilograms. I know that there are 1,000, so I need to move the decimal over 3 times. So it would be 0.2 over 3. Then in order to get this, so it was 1 kroner, if I times this by 5 and times this by 5, I would get 15 kroner per kilogram. So the grapes, the pears cost 15 kroner. And then this one's weird. There's going to have to be decimals on this, but we're going to do it anyway. So we have, this would be 1 kroner for 7.7 hectograms. So first let's change our hectograms to a kilogram. So hectograms to kilograms means that we would move the decimal over 1 more. So that would be over like this. But then we're going to be doing 1 divided by 0.77, which is weird. So let's start by doing what we know with dividing. If you're dividing by decimals, we want to expand that on the bottom. In other words, we times it by 100. So what we're really going to do is 100 divided by 77 to make it so it's a whole number, and it's going to be weird. So it would be about equal to 1, because 77 goes into 100 once, and then we'd get 23 left over, and it doesn't go into that, right? And it goes into 230. It would go into there. Let's see, I think it would be 2 times, because I think 3 might be too big, so I'm going to go over here and do 77 times by 3, I'd get 21, so that's 23, so it's a little bit too big, so it'd go in 2 times, and then we would have 9 left over, right? 2 times would be, so 77 times by 2 would be 14, so 154, so that would be a lot left. It would be 9 here, and it'd keep on going. So the real price would be 1.29 kroner per kilogram. Yikes. That's a really low price for cheese. Just as an overview, because you will have to do this on the test. So the first thing we did was this thing, where we changed it so the kroner was on top, and then the gram thing, whatever it was on the bottom. Then we changed the stuff on the bottom so it was in terms of a kilogram, and then made sure that it was 1 kilogram on the bottom. So that's where we times by 5 right here. In order to do this one, we just had to divide. This one we times by 2. So that was all for the purpose of getting 1 kilogram on the bottom. So changing it so kroner was on the top, kilograms was on the bottom, or the weight was on the bottom, and then making sure that it was 1 kilogram on the bottom. And then this is related, kind of going the other way around. It says it's 89 kroner per kilogram, and we want the kroner per hectogram. So if I had 89 kroner for 1 kilogram, what would I have to change that? What would I have to do to the kilograms to get the hectograms? So if we had the King Henry does usually drink chocolate milk, hectogram to kilogram, we go up 1. So that would be a difference of 10. So 1 kilogram would be the same thing as 10 hectograms. So if that was a 10 instead on the bottom, if it was a 10 on the bottom like that, it would keep the 89 kroner right there. 89 kroner, but that would be for 10 hectograms. So for 1 hectogram, it would be 8.9 kroner. While you're writing this, let me explain why we do take so much time on the warm-ups. It's because they will prepare you for the test. I'm not doing it just for kicks and giggles. We spend that much time because it's reteaching and teaching and going over things again. Okay, so I'm assuming you've written that. And if part of the test that you needed to retake was mixed numbers, then this is what a mixed number problem looks like. This is an addition problem with mixed numbers. We might just as well have a subtraction problem with these, but this is our addition problem with them. So there are a couple ways that I would do it. One way is I would do the 4 plus the 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. And then remember that is the whole number, but don't forget it. And then we're going to do 1/5 plus 4/9. We want them to have the same denominator. Notice that 5 and 9 are not the same. The quick way we talked about doing that for our problems was to times across. So that means the common denominator would be 45. And then crisscross. So 9 times by 1 is 9. 5 times by 4 is 20. And this was a common mistake on the test. Right here, this says plus. On the test, a lot of them said minus, and some people did that. They subtracted them. They didn't subtract them, they added them instead. So it'd be 29 over 45. So our final answer would be 6 and 29 over 45. Yes, these questions will come back on this test, and it will be very similar. So notice that the question here was given as a mixed number, and the answer needs to be as a mixed number. Okay, next part. Okay, halfway between negative 2/3 and 3/3. And many of you on the test, I was so proud of you, you drew a number line here, but this is what is important that we do. So mark 0, and then for us, we have 3, we go to 3 and a bit. I probably need to make that a little bit longer. And then I'm going to mark this, because mine have 3s, I'm going to mark 3 in between these two. They're not very perfectly even. But then 2/3 would be about right there. So this would be -1, and this part right here would be -2/3. And then over here, so we have 1, 2, 3. So right here is 3 1/3. So what we're trying to find first, in order to find halfway, is what is the whole distance from there to there. Here's how I think of it. I can see that from 0 to here is 3 1/3. And going the other way from, from here to over here is 2/3. So if I just add 3 1/3 and add on 2/3, so you might be able to see that this 1/3 plus 2/3, that's actually just 3/3, which is the same thing as saying 4. So that whole distance is 4, so half of it, because we wanted to find halfway, is 2. But we'd have to add 2 onto this number right here. So we want to go 2 from there. So 2 plus -2/3, or -2/3 plus 2, same idea. So 2, I can rewrite 2 as 1 3/3. And if I minus 2/3 from it, right, because 1 3/3, that's the same thing as 2. So 3/3 minus 2/3, that's going to be equal to 1 1/3. So this number right there, we want to know what is that number. That number is 1 1/3. This is a simpler problem, number 5. We had 2 decimal places here, and we are going to expand it by timesing by 100, because we had 2 decimal places, so we'd want to do the same thing to there. So the answer to this would be the same thing as finding the answer to 4,200 divided by 7, especially if you can write 7. So 7 goes into 42 6 times, so then we have the zeros at the end. The answer would be 600. Substitute. Please pause the video or stop the video so that we can watch the next one. It's a short one, and then there will be one more after that. I just had to cut this down. I talk a lot. Sorry.